Hi everyone, my name's Mandeep Rupra, pronoun she, her, and I'm the Director of Equity and Belonging at National Citizens Advice. And I've been collaborating with the Home Truths 2 team over the past 2 years of the programme, and it's been great. Looking back at that time of the murder of George Floyd, COVID, charity So White, I would say it was such an important moment within the sector. I just joined Citizens Advice at the time, and like many other large charities, the attention was rightly on what action was or was not being taken to address systemic racism. So, for instance, the workforce, particularly colleagues of colour, were rightly demanding that their experiences of marginalisation and racism be addressed. So this moment really pushed organisations to acknowledge systemic oppression and reject any notion that I've often heard in my career that racism only exists outside the organisation or the workplace. We're fine. Yes, we know it happens outside, but not in here. And of course, this blew the lid off that in a much wider way than we'd had before. So for me, at that time, civil society had to really recognise the realities of structural inequalities for people of colour in the workforce and as service users, because you saw that with COVID as well. So racism at a societal, systemic, cultural and individual level could no longer be denied by anyone. And I think that was really, really powerful because previously there'd been resistance to the work. So for me, this was a moment where meaningful change was being demanded and organisations were being watched to see what anti-racist action they were taking. And that really supported practitioners like me to really, although I'd been always pursuing an anti-racist agenda, there was more of a coherence around that. And we're able to boldly pursue that anti-racist agenda without maybe some of the resistance that we'd received before in the past. And then since joining CA, that's allowed me to ensure race equity continues to be a strategic priority. So it was a pivotal moment. So 6 years later, the climate in which we're taking anti-racist work does feel different to the time that I just spoke about. There's a lot of change in the sector, whether that's in relation to organizational sustainability, and there's a much greater polarization on any social justice agenda than we had several years ago. We continue to see the pervasive and endemic nature of racism. Now, we saw that with the riots last year, the protests that we're continuing to see. So the urgency and the need still remains, but the new landscape has meant I've seen a combination of some organizations continuing to prioritize race equity whilst others have become less vocal. But nonetheless, one of the things that I really appreciate is the expectation from peers and colleagues to continue to have meaningful action from the sector. And that's what I really love, that we have kept that from the last several years, that people want to see real anti-racist action that goes beyond tokenism. And an example of that, since 2020, I've ensured we've continued to grow and fund our anti-racism work. It's tied to our institutional mission. And we've got 2 areas of focus. Firstly, looking at our service users of colour and the disparities they experience, and then the experience of our colleagues of colour, both of which are included in our strategic missions. But we've got a long way to go, but I am proud of the journey so far. To advance anti-racism in mainstream civil society, we just can't take our attention away from prioritising this area. Of course, it's been really encouraging to see an increased commitment. The conversation has grown. The reality of racism is being understood. And many organisations are wanting to make a difference in this area. But for me, I always say this commitment's got to lead to real action. And for me, the pace of change continues to be slower than I'd like. We continue to see report after report showing the lack of Black and brown leaders in the sector, the lack of Black and brown trustees in the sector, the experiences of racism for staff and service users. I don't want to read another report. I want bold action. So I want to see leaders, especially CEOs, visibly demonstrating their anti-racist commitment and ensuring organizational resources for the work. So for me, we've not moved the dial enough in the sector. So we need everyone to be involved and learn from projects such as Home Truths. And the current climate dictates the urgent need to review our commitments as a sector as well, I'd say. So for me, what I'd like to see is the sector coalition build, mobilize on the agenda together. I take my role in that super seriously. We are currently working on a race equity leadership accountability framework for all our leaders across our service. I'm going to continue to ensure that the organisation takes collective responsibility for addressing race disparities. I'm also going to begin writing a series of blogs sharing our learning as an organisation in ensuring our clients of colour are having a positive experience. We've not got that right. And there's lots we need to do, which we've begun to do. But I want to share our learnings. I want to share what we might not have got right, because I feel we need to be more comfortable in that transparency and sharing our work and saying where we've got it wrong, what we've learned, and how we've ensured change. Because this work is hard. So let's work together, let's learn together. And I'd love to think that even if it's a small amount of what we're doing, that it could support another organisation in the sector. For me, to carry anti-racism in civil society forward, we need to really dig deep and remember why we do this work. This work is as important as ever. Dare I say, in the current climate, there's never been a more important time to ensure we're truly committing to this agenda. And I say to the sector, please don't be complacent. When I think about the pushback or weaponization of the anti-racist agenda, practitioners like myself need to ensure we're grounded in our practice and we protect our resilience as well. Something I take super seriously. We need to know what fills our cup, because this work can't be the only thing and it is hard. So, have your community. People always hear me saying that. Ensure you've got your community around you. Surround yourself with amazing people who will provide you solidarity, safety, compassion, laughter, and care. When I put too much pressure on myself and, my community reminds me, no one person can do this work. And I really believe this. We need to be a collective. So for anyone doing this work, find your people, find your communities, because they're going to be the ones that give you that safety and care when things get tough, and they will. And finally, just to say, you can follow the link below to discover more content from Home Truths 2 and the Race Equity series.